Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Warped, a completely unnecessary Star Trek podcast, where we do unasked-for audio commentary of Star Trek episodes. Here are your hosts, Sean.
Get me to my regular doctor. They're familiar with my weird, things.
Matt.
What do you mean? I agree with you, but what do you mean?
Jake.
I'm not going to let this go, guys.
All right.
I'm going to be a bitch about it if I have to.
Philippe.
Oh, now the ships are fucking? Oh my god.
Erin.
This show is so good. We're just like watching it.
Min Win.
Would you fuck, marry, or kill me?
All of
I
that.
would do all three in that order.
And May.
Dear Diary, I kissed an android today, and he told me he felt nothing.
Make it so.
Well, I'm so touched that we have a fan. Are we allowed to say who? Is it a
Absolutely.
secret admirer?
No, it's me and it's Philippe and I's buddy from high school.
Oh, that's
His name's
so sweet.
Kenyon.
Yeah.
He's also one of our Patreons.
And we
so
owe
he
him
actually
some
listened.
money because we haven't put out an episode in a couple of months. Free. Forget about the Patreons.
Okay.
Does he know about? He knows about the supply chain issues.
We
right?
better rebate him for a couple of months.
Rebates.
Anyway.
So how did you tell me more about how this landed in your lap, Sean?
Well, I just got an email from him. He said, I saw you guys haven't posted an episode in a while, so I hope everything's all right. I've been working on something, and I'll give it to you in a couple of weeks. And I emailed him back. I'm like, well, look, life's kind of gotten in the way, and
yeah.
I think we're going to start coming back eventually.
Yes.
I can't say I know that for 100% sure.
Well, that's a good lead-in for my sub intro point. Is I think there's been 2 miracles this summer.
Yeah.
Does that seem like the right amount to you?
What?
The 2 miracles.
Which are?
The first one is J-Lo and Ben Affleck finally figuring their shit out and getting married.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Got married.
Right?
God bless the Bennifer.
Yep.
And the Warp Crew is back at the podcast ranch.
Yeah, baby.
Here we are.
I'm
There's a new
Erin.
kitten.
Yep.
I'm
the
Sean.
I'm Matt.
Philippe.
I'm also Philippe, apparently. Kenyon, I have notes. I'm not going to let this go, guys.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm going to be a
it's
bitch
okay.
about it if I have to.
Okay. We'll
Well,
fix it.
my clip has
Post.
major vocal fry.
I'm
if that makes
surprised
feel
you
any
care, but okay.
And I'm May.
May's here. Taking
May,
up Min's
I
spot.
loved your voice clip that they picked for you. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
It was,
I keep replaying it in my head. Like it's such a funny.
I mean, I'll admit
I
that
kissed an android and it felt nothing.
the level of difficulty is high because Philippe and I do coincidentally sound very similar.
It's as if you were brothers.
Yeah, as if. We're not, though. We're not.
What are we watching today, Aaron?
Oh shoot! Redemption Part 2.
Yeah, we're starting season 5, folks. They said it couldn't happen. They told us we shouldn't do it.
Somebody needs to kind of remind me what happened in
Somebody needs to.
So
Okay,
I think
so-
they're going to give us a little.
Oh, do they-
I will give you. Let's do a quick.
Klingon.
Let's do a quick recap.
Yeah,
because
for the,
not only
for the,
has it
the
been,
listener at home.
it's been a couple of months for the listeners at home. It's been a couple of months for the people in this room. And I just watched it because I rewatched both of them together to sort of get the whole story. And and also I wasn't here when you guys recorded that episode, so I didn't get a chance to say my feelings about it.
We should just go back and do that one
Let's
again.
just do that one again. I haven't listened to the final episode, but it could probably be done again, right?
It could probably be done better.
It's not a timeless classic that can't be redone.
Yeah, I know.
Is this
Let's George
Raptor?
Lucas that and put it a special edition out.
So it's all about the Klingon Civil War,
Yes.
right? Picard goes to the Klingon homeworld because he's got this weird, like, arbiter of succession job that got passed on to him when the old Klingon chancellor died a season or two ago. And that's just basically an excuse so that Patrick Stewart has something to do in these Klingon episodes, because otherwise he'd just be standing around going, this is really none of my concern. I'll be back on the bridge, which he kind of does say in that episode. Yeah. But he tells Worf, hey, look, we're going to Klingon anyway. While we're there, why don't you get your honor back? Because he's still discommodified, discommendated, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
From his father being falsely accused of being a traitor. But we all know that it was actually Duras who was the traitor.
Yeah.
Worf killed Duras, right, in battle. Isn't that how Duras dies?
Yeah, because he killed his baby mama.
Right.
Because Duras killed his baby mama.
So
that wasn't cool, man.
No.
Yeah, she was awesome.
So they go to Klingon.
Awesome. Kalar.
She was cool. And there are basically there are three factions. There's Gowron the Bug-Eyed, who we love, who is sort of the legitimate.
He's been chosen as the new.
He's the legitimate inheritor of the Klingon High Council or whatever, and he's the Federation's horse in this fight. And then there's the Duras sisters, who showed up with a snotty teenage boy,
right,
claiming this is Duras's son. So it's a little bit like Downton Abbey, which I've been rewatching lately. So it was on my mind while I was watching this the other day. I was like, this is a lot like Downton Abbey. Gowron is the Matthew Crawley in this metaphor, because he's not actually related to the family, but he's going to inherit everything anyway. And the Duras sisters, they're like Mary and Edith, and they're like, we inherit nothing because Duras died without an heir.
Yeah, just because they're ladies.
So they drag this kid that they found, and they're like, oh, this actually is Duras's kid, so he should be the new leader. And then the sort of third faction is Worf's brother Kurg, who is one of the leaders of the military. Kern.
Kern.
Also a fan favorite.
I'm going to call him Kurg.
Tony Todd.
Played by the great Tony Todd, Candyman himself.
Yep.
It's also known as Keurig.
And yes, he also makes individual cups of coffee.
Those fucking things never taste good. Go on.
I don't know how that ever caught on as a thing, really.
So would he be Talbot?
It's bad in so many ways.
Oh, have you not gone to
The
that?
guy who invented them
that?
says they were terrible.
Yeah, what Downton Abbey character is he?
Take backs. I want take backs.
I now don't understand.
Kern? Oh, he's let's see. He's the brother. He's the military guy. They don't really have a military guy on the show.
I guess he's Branson, I guess.
He's kind of a Branson. Yeah, he's a little bit of a Branson.
I now understand what the episode was about because you explained it.
I used words that you meant something to you. That's good.
I feel like the Venn diagram
I love
between
Downton Abbey,
overlap
by the way.
between Downton Abbey and Star Trek is maybe just Matt and Kay.
Stan and I have been binging our way through Downton Abbey, and we're in the final season. We're in season 6, which I never saw because I somehow
stopped.
I wasn't watching the show. It fell off or whatever. I missed it.
Well, that's
so
fun.
now it's like I'm watching a season I've never seen before, which is kind of exciting because I have no idea what's going to happen.
Yay!
And then nothing ever happens.
Have
on
you
Downton
seen
Abbey,
the movies and stuff?
No, I'm gonna. Then we're gonna watch the 2 movies once we finish
fun.
the season. I've been watching a lot of Downton Abbey and the Repair Shop. I've been on a sort of British
that
thing.
Sounds good.
Pray tell.
It's just really relaxing. I get home late from work. I work until like 9:00 most nights.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want to watch anything like taxing or difficult.
No.
So one episode of The Repair Shop and one episode of Downton Abbey is
Super
the
chill.
perfect thing to watch before you go to bed because it is calm and it is British and everyone talks quietly.
Yeah.
And it's just great. It's great. Downton Abbey.
They have you can go have tea and dress up like you're Downton Abbey. Would that interest you?
100%.
Okay.
Apparently, and I'm sure this is why they agreed to let it happen in the first place. The castle where they filmed that is like a huge tourist attraction now as a result of the show.
No doubt.
Highclere Castle.
Highclere Castle.
Yeah.
Somewhere in England.
It sure is.
Nailed it.
It'd be weird
How'd
if
I
it,
know?
it'd be weird if
It's
it
in New
wasn't
Jersey.
in England. It's in Miami, strangely.
It's in Albuquerque. Let's
It's
go
in
on.
that big studio in Atlanta, that,
Right, where they make all the
Tyler
Marvel
Perry's
Marvel movies are made.
Parking lot.
Pinewood.
So anyway, Worf's like, I am the older brother. Kern will follow whatever decision I make, and I'm supporting Gowron. Kern, meanwhile, is sort of like, he hasn't made up his mind yet, because he's like a military guy. He's got a bunch of ships under his command. So he's sort of a potential tipping point, depending on which way he lands. But he's not in line for the throne. He's just sort of this major figure in whatever decision is.
Well, he also wants to get the family name back.
Right. He's also into being
what's the best way to get that back
recommendated.
is the side I'll be on.
Right. And so Worf goes to see Gowron, and Gowron's like, I can't do what you're asking me to do. Because Worf goes, look, we'll back you if you give us our name back. And he's like, I can't do it. And Worf's like, well, we're going to back him anyway because it's the right thing to do. And Kern's like, and Worf's like, I am the older brother, and you will do as I say. Anyway, that is all sort of an overly convoluted way of explaining what happened. But that
was great.
We meet Lursa and B'Etor, who are awesome. I mean, two of the best cackling villains Star Trek ever
With
had.
their window cleavage.
They're very boob forward.
It's kind of a whatever century this is, Downton Abbey situation. There's always something going on with this.
They always have weird halter tops and stuff.
And so in the same way that we know that the Federation backs Gowron, what we learned at the very end of the episode, it's all still kind of unresolved at the end of the episode. Jean-Luc's like, this doesn't have anything to do with us. The Federation's not allowed to get involved. We're leaving. And then Worf says, well, then I quit. And Worf drops out of Starfleet and goes to be with his brother on the battleship. Yeah. And Jean-Luc's like, well, we're out of here because this is a Klingon civil war and we're not allowed to interfere.
Yeah.
And Worf's like, but we think the Romulans are supporting the Duras sisters. And Jean-Luc's like, or maybe that happens in this episode where Jean-Luc's like, if you had some evidence that the Klingons were fiddling around in Klingon affairs, then the Federation would have a reason to get involved. But right now, you don't have any proof that the Romulans are involved. So Jean-Luc flies away, Worf stays with his brother, and then at the very end of the episode, we see that the Duras sisters are being backed by the Romulans, specifically a Romulan who looks exactly like
Tasha Yar.
Who?
Tasha
That's
Yar.
right.
I remember that now.
Denise Crosby shows up right at the very end of this episode.
And the reasoning behind all that makes my brain hurt.
They will explain it in this episode. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it when we get there.
But I don't know.
It requires remembering an earlier episode is the problem.
That does not play to my strength.
No, it does not.
Punch that triangle, the tiny one on the inner app.
I think we're ready.
All right. I got 45 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock, and I'm punching the triangle in 3, 2, 1, punch.
Yeah, let's go.
And now they're going to do last time on Start the Trek.
Yeah, we're going to learn all this stuff
They're
again.
not going to do as good of a job as you just did.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
I'm coming into this fresh.
I followed totally along with your
Are you?
narrative.
You coming in fresh?
I'm a blank slate on all this.
Oh, really? You didn't watch the last one?
I saw the last one, yeah, but I haven't seen any of this season's episodes, or at least rewatched.
So you didn't watch this yet?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I did. Sean, did you?
I did like 2 months ago when we were originally going to record this
fall
episode.
start? When did that happen?
I
2
mean,
months
it's
ago?
been a couple of months.
Shit.
Yeah.
So now we're seeing a recap of everything that's going on. Jean-Luc saying, no, we can't get involved. And, they did get their name back. That's Gowron restores their family name. But then Worf has to quit.
What's Worf's last name?
He's Worf, son of Moog.
Son of Moog.
It's actually Dorf.
Here we
Stephen
go.
Dorff.
There's the Duras
He's Stephen Dorff's
sisters.
brother?
So there's the
And
evil Romulan.
The Romulan.
I feel like we've seen that evil
and
Romulan.
there she is.
Yes. She looks good with a pixie cut.
I think that hair looks ridiculous. I think that wig is not.
It is ridiculous,
good.
but she can pull off a weird forehead thing.
Well, it's because they want her to make her look like a Romulan, so they gave her the classic
she has
Romulan
good features,
hairdo.
Though.
It just looks weird.
Who does she remind me of?
Well, we're starting hot.
Yeah. Right at battle.
Got a big fight scene right at the beginning.
So there's Kern.
There's Kern and Worf. morphs in a Klingon outfit now because he's a Klingon.
Who's her mother?
Whose mother?
Tasha Yar, the actress who plays Tasha
I don't
Yar.
know her mother,
She's
but
Bing
we've
Crosby's
talked about
daughter
this before.
or
No,
granddaughter?
She's Bing Crosby's granddaughter.
Okay.
Talked
Just
about
she
that.
has a movie star
Way
face, so
back
I
when.
just wonder what the lineage is there because it's very. She's got a very.
I don't know if her
sculpted
mother was
face.
an actress or not.
Yeah.
Gowron is Matthew Crawley. I had this in my notes.
Yeah. That's good.
I can put a line through it.
No,
because
I
already
only
said that.
seen like first season of Downton Abbey. I feel like it's something that I would enjoy taking.
I mean, if you enjoy slow moving,
I
sort
do.
of British shows,
I do.
That's what it is. It's kind of the platonic ideal of a masterpiece theater
Yeah.
show.
And I like that stuff.
It's that old Eddie Izzard joke where he's like, British movies are like bang bang, fuck, let's fuck, come on.
No,
The British movies are like, oh hello Sebastian, I was just sitting here counting matches.
Do you need
books on the
to? Do you need to have the subtitles on when you watch shows?
I always have the subtitles on all the time now because I hate the way that sound mixing on television and in movies is done these days.
I always have to if it's a British show. I can't follow along.
Whoa.
I can't bear back a British show.
Pulled some business on him.
Yep. So Kern pulled a maneuver. The Kern, what will
Kern
come to be known as
maneuver,
the Kern
right.
maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
He lured them into close to the sun and then made the sun blow up onto them so that they all died.
That's where we get the in graphic design the term kerning.
That's what kerning comes
Yeah,
from.
that's how close things are together.
Too close.
Too close.
Oh, hey. On another note, sorry to interrupt, but we were watching the thing on Disney Plus about ILM, Industrial Light Magic.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And the guy who developed the font for Star Trek was interviewed, but he was for a different reason, but it came out that he was the font guy.
Oh, we've talked about him before when we learned that the original Star Trek font is called Horizon.
When we did that, did we know who's credited for it?
I
Did
feel
a
like
name get
I
pulled?
feel like we named him at the time.
Cool.
I feel like we spoke his name.
Well, you might enjoy this program.
He's one of the founding sort of members of ILM. So,
Interesting.
And he got paid nothing for it, even though it was been used in perpetuity.
So he was like a graphic designer of some
He
kind.
wasn't even. He just had some graphic design skills. He just multitasked.
Yeah, a lot of those guys were like into a lot of different stuff. It's kind of neat to see the origin. I recommend it.
Yeah, they were
that
all
program.
sort of
Yeah.
journeymen who knew all kind of different
Yeah,
things,
they had a
right?
lot of different skill sets, and it's what's really
That's much like the people on the Repair Shop, my other favorite show.
it's probably very similar in some ways. It's just like they had to do they created a lot of new technology to create a lot of this stuff, and
yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
It's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's totally worth watching because then you realize that all the things that came out of ILM, which are like, let's see,
every special
special
thing of
effects,
the last
but like
30 years.
Pixar started there,
Right.
Yeah, the guy who created Photoshop did it for ILM before. So I mean, it's like there's so many like origins of like some of the technology that and names we think of today.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say that you were watching that Joanne Woodward, Paul Newman.
Oh, I am
documentary.
watching that too. I've seen the first one. I'm savoring it.
I've only watched the first one, but
Yeah.
it's very good.
Isn't it,
Yeah.
though?
They have
So
a
there's
really-
a documentary on HBO Max. It was done by Ethan Hawke, where it's about Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, and I'm learning a lot about Joanne Woodward, much more than I did before.
Yeah, she's the one that's, considering she was a movie star, she was not as famous as Paul Newman was.
Yeah, but many say that she's kind of the best actress of all time.
Oh, I know. I'm just like, she was just never like as huge.
Well,
of
his
a
star
movie
rose and eclipsed, and then I think she took a break to raise their family. But so there's
Probably.
that whole story. But what's neat is there's all this. He used to interview people and tape people, a lot of people in their lives. So kind of all the famous directors and actors and people around them at the time. But he
was like-
burned all the tapes, but the transcripts survived. And so in order to bring alive some of the dimensions to a long marriage and careers and lots of complicated stories, the ups and downs, because he was married when they met, so there's all that too. he has a bunch of contemporary actors who are in Ethan Hawke's circle that are distinguished reading the roles of Paul Newman, like George Clooney's reading Paul Newman and whatnot. Thoughts?
All that is true. Laura Linney plays Joanne, doing Joanne Woodward's. What the story was?
I thought it was very clever that that's how they handled that.
The story was that Paul Newman was like writing a book, and so he was interviewing all of these people,
that's right.
and
there was a reason for all the tapes.
His co-writer was like recording all of these interviews.
That's right.
And then for whatever reason, they decided not to write the book. Paul Newman destroyed the tapes.
Okay,
but the transcripts of the interviews,
but they still have a record
existed.
of all these amazing, people from the time that they.
The only thing I didn't like about it was that I thought George Clooney was distracting as Paul Newman.
Oh, okay.
Because George Clooney just sounds so much like George Clooney to me.
But I
wish they had found someone.
Paul Newman of our time, so it's a good choice.
He's the Cary Grant of our time.
Okay. Well, who's the Paul Newman of our time?
We don't have one.
Okay.
We don't really have one.
I'm just thinking there's not that many because the show is called The Last Movie Stars, and really, like, if we're gonna have movie
there aren't a lot of Paul Newmans in Hollywood anymore.
That's true.
It seems like. Anyway, his voice is so distinctive that it just kept distracting me that it was George Clooney. Like, I wish they had found somebody who maybe sounded a little more
like Paul Newman,
generic, or even just like nothing at all. But George Clooney just sounds so much like George Clooney.
Anyway, I thought it was
really
like
good.
a cool way to do it because, it's also like produced during COVID lockdown. So it's all these like people showing up on Zoom and Ethan Hawke's looking, like he needs to shave.
They're all looking pretty raggedy.
Yeah, I like it. I don't know. I just thought it was a neat way
it was
to.
the early days of the lockdown. People were not worried about like their physical appearance.
It's funny to think about it.
And they're also setting up their own lighting, so they're just like,
right. They're all just like,
this is the best you're gonna get.
Max, but
it's a bunch of old
people.
people going, hold on, I gotta get the audio working.
Right?
Give me a minute.
That's fine.
And Ethan Hawke in the background going, push escape.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of footage, and then they brought in this new stuff, so I'm enjoying it. I recommend it. It's a good Hollywood history, and I think also, if you don't know Joanne Woodward, it's a way to get to know her story more because she's quite a performer.
I completely agree with that recommendation. So, Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
This thing we're watching.
Okay, can I give the specs? We missed.
Oh yeah.
The intro.
Oh my god.
Go ahead.
We're so out of practice.
We're watching season 5, episode 1, Redemption 2, or Redemption II, depending on how you want to say it. Original air date September 21st, 1991. As Worf fights in the Klingon Civil War, Captain Picard and his crew must stop the Romulans from helping their pawns achieve victory. I like the way they arm wrestle.
I love this.
Onto a knife.
The color in this scene is great. Just like the two guys arm wrestling. These two guys are just having a punch fight.
But it's a good-natured punch fight.
Written by Ronald Moore.
Yes.
What do you think the IMDb rating of this episode is? May.
I didn't watch it, so I'm going to say 7.
Aaron?
I think it's highly regarded because it's part 2 of a highly regarded pair of shows. I'm going to say it's an 8.
Anybody else?
I'm going to say it's an 8-2.
8-3.
8-4.
8-4 is correct.
You guys.
I couldn't have done it without you.
Just a bunch
This
of
is why
bullshit. Is what that was.
This is why we broke up for a couple months.
8-2, 8-3, 8-4. Who does that?
You stole mine.
I used to do it to men all the time. It's fine. Yes, this is a very good episode. All the Klingon Civil War stuff is always.
What do you think of those
good.
belt buckles?
I love the way they dress the Klingons.
I love Klingon outfits. It's so good.
Yeah, the foot spikes are my favorite. You can't always,
the foot spikes are great.
You can't always see them, but they're there.
Then multiple people have sashes, right? There's a lot of sashes.
Everyone has a sash.
I mean, a chainmail sash is like
it's like a metal
de rigueur.
Yeah, de rigueur. I mean, I just so happy that that's what's going on with them.
Yeah. So we just missed a scene. This is just to quickly set up what's going on in this episode. In addition to the Civil War stuff, Picard has come up with this plan, or Geordi came up with this plan, to create a sort of blockade between the Romulans and the Klingons. And what they're hoping to do is catch a cloaked Romulan vessel that they ordinarily would not be able to detect, crossing over from Romulan space into Klingon space, which would help them prove that the Romulans are conspiring to affect the results of the election.
Well, there they are.
There they are.
Yeah.
With the horseshoe crab on their head.
I think they are great.
Yeah.
I think these performances are great. I think they are something that we don't actually get very often in Star Trek. Just unrepentantly, blatantly evil characters.
So we also talk about that's a really good cinematography. Like
It's great.
little camera
The
shot.
focus out and the focus in.
Yeah, and just the way they both look, and it's very symmetrical. It's a little cut above.
I was writing notes while I was watching this a couple of nights ago, but I was high, so I don't know how great. But some of these notes...
Oh, I forgot this storyline, too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to.
Right.
Oh yeah, Data's like, let me leave this bitch.
My joke was their boobs come in 30 seconds before they do. Okay, that was worth saying.
It's a me. It's a Mario.
Oh, I've got that written down still, too. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a Mario. That was the joke. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a Mario. Oh, you laughed this time.
Funny.
You've heard
It's
that.
now funnier.
The more times I say it, the funnier it's getting.
You committed to it. I like that.
I can picture it this time.
So this
I created a vivid word picture in your mind.
So this is
Okay.
Everybody has trouble with android leadership.
So this is almost an exact replica of an original series plotline where nobody wanted to take orders from Spock because he was a filthy Vulcan. So what's happened is they need all of these ships in order to erect this invisible net that they're going to catch. So they need all of these ships need crews, but there aren't enough captains around. So Picard has promoted Data temporarily to captain of this other ship. And the guy who is the number one, he's the Riker of the other ship, does not like taking orders from filthy robots. So it's a classic
Sean
Star
do
Trek
if he
prejudice.
Was that person.
I would bow down at Data's feet and know that he was going to make all the right choices.
I mean, why wouldn't
You would let the android take the
Hell
wheel.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
In
not
fact,
he's the best.
If I could speak to the robots,
in case they're listening.
This one's all,
If-
all the
if-
robots.
if you're
Now or in the future.
Yes.
robots, please take us over. You see what we've done to this planet. There's no way you could do worse.
I don't know. That's the premise of the Matrix. They do worse. Well, I mean, we're the ones who launched the bombs, though, in the Matrix, to be fair.
Yeah. But it didn't work.
Please.
You guys will be
You
excited
couldn't
to know
come
that
quick
I
enough.
saw Matrix.
Is there a utopian movie or story about robots, about the robots being in charge? Or is it always a bad idea in sci-fi?
Maybe this gives me away as a robot, but I thought The Matrix was pretty much.
You think that movie agrees with the robots?
I think
That's
the
the utopian
robots,
society.
the robots love it. They said that was working out.
Have you seen the most recent one? Which is brilliant.
No, I have not seen the most recent one.
It's amazing.
Matrix 4?
Yeah,
Resurrections.
It's amazing.
So
Yeah?
good.
Yes.
Okay.
An amazing movie.
Good
I
to
laughed,
know.
I cried.
It's like a piece of cinema.
It's
like it's
art.
a movie.
It
For
is a piece
for
of
reasons
art.
beyond my control, I jumped right into Matrix 2. I haven't seen Matrix 1.
Wow.
No.
That's
Okay,
gotta
that's
have-
an
that must have
interesting
been
choice.
confusing.
So
How much did you understand?
my kid wanted to watch it and I wanted to hang with him. So I was like, I haven't seen the first one. I'm just going to jump in. But you know what?
Yeah.
I know the second is not considered to be as nearly as good as the first, but it made me interested enough that I do want to see the first one. I'm like, this is an interesting idea that they're discussing here.
There's
So.
a 20-minute sequence in the middle of The Matrix 2, The Matrix Reloaded, that is the best thing in all of them.
Yeah.
It's the fight scene that starts in the house and then goes on to the freeway. It starts with him fighting those guys in that mansion. And then the two guys who are the ghosts,
the white
Sure.
that whole
twins.
sequence where they have that huge fight scene on the freeway. You're telling me you just watched this movie, but you sound like you don't know what I'm saying.
I fall asleep during movies a lot,
Okey-doke.
maybe.
Oh, the inverse
I know.
Milli Vanilli.
No, I
so
believe
you
you.
saw The Matrix Reloaded But
Did
you
I fall asleep?
didn't see the Matrix Reloaded.
It's the part where, I mean, it's the main, I would say the central good action scene in it is the part where they fight those guys that are like in the white suits and they have the dreadlocks.
They're on the freeway.
Oh yeah, the white suits. See, he just had to tell me in the terms that I could understand. I'm like, mansion.
Hey, look,
what?
Data Troy's in this episode for 5
she
seconds.
just walked across the
Hi,
screen.
Troy.
It's
See you
like
later,
they-
Deanna.
It's like she doesn't get much to
She's
do
like,
in this one, and Crusher's barely
I need
in
to
it
get
at
my
all.
benefits this year, so I gotta
I think-
cross the stage one time.
That's right. I think the one of the downsides sometimes to the Klingon episodes is that they're very male oriented.
Yeah.
Troy and Crusher don't get much to do.
And really, it's just Picard and Worf.
It's really just Picard.
I
and Worf.
mean, Data gets a
Data's
storyline in this, but
Data's
like,
got the C plot.
even
in this
Riker
one.
and Geordi aren't really much in this episode.
So this is a classic Star Trek story about overcoming, prejudice. I like that they did this actually because I like it when Star Trek does, ethical stories about morality and ethics.
Not if you ask William Shatner.
Yeah, well, he's wrong because that's what Star Trek is.
When did it get so political, guys?
I don't know if it's too soon, but there was a comparison because, of course, the big news item is.
Well, we should talk about
That's
the fact
true.
is Nichelle.
Everyone got a drink.
Nichelle Nichols
Yeah.
died.
Nichelle, we drink to you. R.I.P.
But it was often said that her performance was more understated compared to the scenery chewing style of, say.
Oh, you think?
Oh, well, sure.
So that's been highlighted in her write-ups. So that made me kind of think of a window into that whole topic.
I was thinking the thing that I kept thinking about was how out of all of them, she's the one who had the most interesting life outside of Star Trek. You know, like Shatner's just Shatner. He's a ham bone. Like, but she has this whole like second, arguably much more important part of her life after Star Trek with all the like NASA stuff.
Oh yeah.
So she feels like the most interesting one.
Fully
out
formed.
of all of them. In terms of what their lives were
No,
like.
it's been wonderful
I mean,
to read
Takai's
about her
story
life.
is interesting because he grew up in, he went to the concentration camp
Right.
when he was a kid. And so he has that sort of like really interesting, sad backstory.
That's like Tachyon.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's Geordi's solution to
I love that they make a two-dimensional net. Whenever they make a net in space, I'm like, how does a net in space work? Like,
they
you can just go around
You
it,
can't go
right?
over or
Space
around.
is mostly empty, right?
It's called space.
It's called space.
Yeah.
It's full of space.
Yeah.
I was like Jerry Seinfeld. There's so much space.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with all this space in my space?
Oh, all right. We're gonna find out where.
That was my terrible Jerry Seinfeld.
Pretty good.
What are you
I liked
talking
it. I
about?
was impressed.
It wasn't as good as your Mario.
Oh, there she is.
Wonderful.
But it was wonderful.
I got
But
Picard
anyway,
out of
that's
his chair.
that's the problem with nets in space.
I had the exact same thing. I mean, you just got to go up a little bit,
Right.
Or whatever.
You just go
fake up
around.
is. Yeah, you just go around it. There's always around it, but no.
So now
Especially
we're
when
finding
they,
out.
I think they kind of know that there's a net somewhere, and they're like,
They know there's a net.
and they're just like, we're gonna go through it still.
That's why she's there, because she's come to tell him, I know about your net.
She's Tasha Yar's kid.
Yep.
Is Data her daddy?
No,
No, a
although
Romulan
you'd be
is.
forgiven for thinking so.
It's a good theory, though.
This thing is so silly. So, do you know the backstory on this, Aaron? Do you know that this was Denise Crosby's idea? She wanted to come back. And so because she had a good time working on the last episode she was in, which is the episode that this episode is kind of a direct sequel to in some ways, that she kept thinking about ways to come back. And so this was her idea, and she went in and pitched it to the producers, and they said, yeah, that sounds like a fun idea. Let's do it. Cool. So do you want me to tell you what you don't remember?
Yeah.
The part you don't remember?
Break it down. Break it down.
Okay. There was an episode called Yesterday's Enterprise. And in that episode, there was a weird
Watch the cable.
There was a weird timey-wimey thing. Watch that cable especially. Oh, he went under instead of over. That was a bold choice.
He was like Catherine Zeta-Jones with some lasers right there.
So there was a timey-wimey thing, And there was an alternate universe where everyone was in a war, but Tasha
here's
was
Guinan,
still alive.
by the way.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of that episode, Tasha decides to go back in time.
Yes.
We could have just paused
We need a cat suit.
We could have just paused the show.
I thought he needed to use the restroom.
Only
He just
forward.
needed to get some bugles up in here. Okay.
At the end, so Whoopi is the only person who remembers what happened in that episode. And what happens in that episode is Tasha goes back with the ship that they all know is doomed to be destroyed in this famous battle. But now they're saying, oh, what if not everybody died? What if Tasha somehow survived that attack? That she went back in time to fight him. What if she had survived that? That's how she has a daughter old enough. And Whoopi is sort of what Whoopi is saying to Jean-Luc right now is she is who she says she is. And Whoopi's powers are real vague. Like sometimes because she doesn't just flat out come out and tell him, here's the plot of that episode, like I just did. She's like, I don't know. I can't explain it. It's just my feelings. But I know for sure that's Tasha's daughter. And you're the one who is responsible for her existence. Which is a lot to lay on someone when you have no details at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Guinan, so.
But it's Guinan.
Yeah.
So Jean-Luc's like, yeah, of course. Because she's the only one who remembers. If you remember how that last episode ended, it ended with Whoopi going up to Geordi and saying, tell me what you know about Tasha Yar. Tell me about Tasha Yar. Because she didn't know Tasha Yar.
Yeah,
and that's what she tells him in that episode. She says, you and I shouldn't even be talking because we're in some weird alternate universe.
Yeah, she was
starting to come back to you.
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
Guinan's the only one in that episode who knows that something weird is going on.
Right. She convinces Picard we have to do, to what he has to do.
The great Chris McDonald is in that episode.
That is a good episode. That is a top 10 Star Trek episode, I think we said at the time, and I would agree with that.
Oh no!
Oh, they're jumping Worf.
They're jumping Worf in the place that they are supposedly supposed to be able to hang out without getting into fights. That they established that earlier because Kern was having drinks with the enemy of the other side, and it was like, no, this is a neutral area where we're all allowed to come. But then they jumped Worf. So now Tasha is her name is Sela, by the way. Mm-hmm. She is wearing an upholstered.
Yeah.
Yes. Love the Romulan outfits.
Romulan outfits.
Great 90s shoulder pads.
Amazing shoulder pads. I cannot endorse the hair.
She gives Melanie Griffith the run for her money.
Just like her face can pull off that hair more than anybody.
I just think that is so obviously a wig. It looks like it's made out of plastic. It looks like they stuck it on top of her head.
I do like the sideburns, though. The nice little curly sideburns.
The actual shape of it is different from a previous scene that we saw. It's less pointy.
Yeah, it was really Widow's Peaky in that earlier scene. It's not as bad here.
I like the Widow's Peak.
I think she can carry about 20 pounds of sweat as body weight.
It must be hot in those.
I can't even imagine
blankets
what those
they're
things
wearing.
are. Fucking quilt she's got on.
It looks like a comforter.
Yeah, it looks like something that would be folded up on the end of your bed.
Don't shine a black light on that, baby.
It's got Chris
Comforter
McDonald
and
jizz all over it.
A halter sash.
What a lucky comforter.
A spiky halter sash.
Put anything in that.
That's only funny if you remember what. That'll be funny in the edit.
Yeah.
I promise it.
How heavy of a blanket do you sleep with, guys?
Almost none.
Not none.
Is that because of the heat problem, or
I have a sheet. I have a top sheet, and I have a
thin blanket,
a cover. I don't have a blanket at all. I have a sheet, and I have the bedspread, and that's it.
bedspread like what she has on?
Like a comforter?
No, like the thing that would be on top.
Yeah, the thing that you pull off at the hotel.
It's called a bedspread.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Am I inventing
That's
words?
No, I'm just making sure we're all agreeing on what the words.
I don't have anything in between the sheet and the bedspread.
Right.
I don't have a blanket.
What's your bedspread made out of?
Probably, I don't know, asbestos. Probably. I don't know.
Is it soft?
Pure
It's soft.
cyanide.
Okay.
It's soft.
Polyester, maybe.
And it's Yeah, probably. I mean, I got it off
And
Amazon.
again, is it because you don't want a heavy thing on you because it's too hot, or
I do have most of the time I don't. Yes, most of the time it's too hot. In the
but you like to be covered.
In the winter when it's cold, I have another.
You throw another layer on.
Yes, I have a thing my mother made.
Nice, like an in between thing.
No, it's an on top thing.
Oh, you put it on top of the bedspread.
It's like a quilt.
I thought you put it between the bedspread and the sheet. Oh my god! Now we know how Sean sleeps. Sexy style.
Sean's description of his sleeping position.
But what's on top?
I wish we could get
what's
that on a
covering
shirt.
you while you're
I
doing
mean,
this?
it depends. I mean, if it's hot, I don't have anything on top.
Oh.
But I kind of will sort of, if I'm in the right position, I kind of half body undercover, half body not undercover.
Mm-hmm.
We just have a sheet and a comforter.
Oh yeah, you poke like a leg out. To
Kind of curl over the end of the sheet. Of course, I'm living with people. I have 18 people in the bed with me, so if I get like a small
Are you in
portion,
some kind of sex cult? What's happening?
Yeah, they're called children. That still sleep in my bed, even though one of them's 14 and one of them's 12.
They wander in while I didn't know this. While you're watching shows and stuff.
They just come in and sleep there in the middle of the night.
Oh, do they get spooked? What's the deal?
I don't know. They're we've been co-bedding since they were young.
Wow.
And we thought at some point in time they'd grow out of it, but
I mean, at some point they have to go to college or get a job.
Yeah, I kind of felt like 14 was maybe too late.
Sorry,
but
Sean, I didn't mean to.
Those boobs
That's
are
a
amazing.
deep V.
Change the subject, but
it's all right.
That's the other thing I love about Larissa and Beitar is they're just
she is horny for Worf.
Well, she's not really. She's trying to manipulate him, but
no, I think she is. And she's trying to manipulate him.
That's right. Two things can be true.
That's I suppose that's right.
It's a window.
I don't
into her
believe
soul.
they're.
Here's my question: which one of you? Which is Lursa in charge or is Beitar in charge? Which one of them do you think is the boss of the two of them?
Whichever one's standing right now, I think.
That's Lursa.
I think Lursa is the older one.
a little bit like the older sister.
Lursa's the older sister, and Beitar is the younger, sluttier sister.
She's the wild gun. Yeah.
So
she's the Erlene Mandrell. There's a reference no one in the world will get.
I used to have sex dreams about
Do you remember
the Mandrell sisters.
Barbara Mandrell?
I was like, does Barbara have a sister? What's happening here?
You remember the Mandrell
Barbara
sisters?
has two sisters.
Show?
Barbara has two sisters.
Kind of.
I just saw this thing on the news the other day about Barbara Mandrell. She got inducted into the I don't know what Grand Ole
Country
Opry Hall of
music.
Fame or something
Okay.
like that. So she's been on my mind lately.
She has.
That show, Barbara Mandrell's variety show that she had with her two sisters, only ran for 32 episodes, but I feel like I watched it all the time.
For years, I feel like that show was on, but maybe I was just watching reruns of it. Yeah.
I came across it, but I didn't spend too much. I spent more time with Hee Haw.
Yeah, it was Hee Haw, but more of a
Music based.
Yeah, more of a it was more it was more of a variety show. It was more music based. Worf displays no surprise at seeing Tasha.
The more Romulan tricks.
I'm just he has no reaction to seeing her. Not even a reaction of, who is this person who looks like Tasha Yar?
Do not play poker with Worf.
He has no reaction at all.
He's like, no.
There's Gowron.
There he is. His eyes are a little sleepy
Yeah,
today.
he's kind of.
He's supposed to be tired because they're in the middle
Yeah,
of the war.
he's going through a lot right now.
Though in his defense, that's fully closed for him. That's,
Right. That's how he sleeps.
He's asleep right now. Exactly.
Lursa is played by Barbara March, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago.
Uh-huh.
And the other one's played by Erin Mandrell, right? So,
Yes, exactly.
Do you think
Was that the blonde one or the brunette?
They both have Klingon colored hair.
No, I'm talking about the Mandrell sisters.
Oh, Barbara. Well, Barbara was blonde,
Right.
and then the middle sister had dark hair. She was the serious one.
No.
She was the Marcia. She was the Jan.
Yeah.
And then the younger one, who was the dumb, slutty one, was called Lurleen.
Oh, I love Lurleen.
And what color was her?
She was blonde.
She was blonde.
It was 2 blondes and a brunette. And they sang country music songs, and they did little comedy sketches.
I've seen hundreds or whatever, 32 of those shows.
I've seen all of them, I think.
Yep.
But it was also the late 70s, so they'd also do like disco number. Like it wasn't all country. It wasn't as country as Hee Haw. It was a little more glitzy Hollywood. She quit. She's the one who stopped doing it, Barbara, because she was like, this is too much work making a TV show. And it was because it was a hit and they wanted to do more. And she was like, no.
Was it weekly or
It
daily?
was weekly. It was in that era when, Sonny and Cher and, there were a million variety shows.
Carol Burnett.
Yeah. So she was like, nah, I'd rather just, tour and perform, in my shows because that's what I like doing. And I didn't, and she didn't also, I think, like being in Los Angeles so much because she was a country girl. And that's the story of Barbara Mandrell that I learned from reading her wiki page a couple of days ago.
Nice. They were really big for a long time.
They were very big. Her big song was I Was Country When Country Wasn't Cool. I think that was Barbara's sort of like big hit. That got no reaction.
I was trying to think if I could.
I'll play it for you.
I need to sing it for me.
I'll play it for you during the break. I don't want to break copyright.
I was actually watching the episode for a second.
No, it's okay. So, what's happened is they're
playing Space Invaders.
They're playing Space Invaders. They're trying to lure the Romulans into triggering the net.
Nice.
By pretending that there's a big hole in it for some reason.
Some Scooby-Doo shit right here.
It couldn't matter less.
I just think that was the most obvious ploy, and they completely
fall right
into it. It just seemed like it's supposed to be like the height of strategy to create this fake hole, but it's like, it's quite obvious that the hole is meant to be a trap, and and they're all like, "Oh, there's a hole."
Well, she even says that's a trap.
Yeah.
She knows what's going on.
Oh, she does. I just thought they just like all just jump into it. Maybe I'm misremembering.
No, I think if I'm remembering right, she just said to him, she said to her like underling, no, this is a fucking trap.
But somebody like shoots in it, or maybe
they've made up a countermeasure to like. Because his big fear was if they know about the net, then they'll come up with a countermeasure. And then they did find out about the net, and they did make a countermeasure. And that's why Jean-Luc just said, okay, we have to fall back because they're on to us. Yeah. They know about the net.
Quick, the coppers are on to us.
I remember the net. Sandra Bullock.
Yeah. Sandy B.
Remember when she was like action star?
She's still an action star. Did you see Lost City?
Oh, yeah, that was great.
That movie fucking rules.
She is very, very fun in that movie.
Yeah.
It's not a great movie, but it is a fun movie.
It's a fun movie.
I didn't care for it. I'm like,
You're so stupid, I don't even want to hear your voice
I'll be honest with you, though. After as I'm watching that movie, I'm like, this is Romancing the Stone.
Right.
Yeah.
So then the next day, because it was on HBO Max, I watched Romancing the Stone.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Romancing the Stone is so much better.
Yeah,
like,
so much better.
Well,
it's such a superior version
I
of
love
that same
movie,
story.
So I was just like,
But I thought Lost City was a ton of fun. I was so happy I watched it.
Yeah.
The great thing about Lost City is that the Michael Douglas character is a himbo, instead of an adventurer, which makes the whole thing that much more laughable.
And Brad Pitt gets murdered 35 minutes in.
That was a good part. I did enjoy that.
I didn't enjoy seeing Brad Pitt die, but I did appreciate the joke of, the actual hero in a movie like this just showed up and the movie kills him off.
Right.
Is he the Paul Newman of our time?
He might be.
He's
more the Redford.
Yeah, because he's kind of fallen into that character actor non-lead
He's more of a Redford, I think.
You know,
Food for thought.
Food for thought.
Leo might be the Paul Newman of our time.
I don't know.
God, I hope
no. Paul Newman didn't fuck 22-year-olds
Yeah.
when he was in his
Well,
40s,
I'm not talking about his personal
man of
life. I'm talking about his acting.
No.
Well,
Well, but
you
it's kind
can't
of
you can't
all-
separate it.
It's
That's
the
what the point of this.
persona.
Yeah.
It's not just the work or the person. It's the whole.
All right.
gestalt.
Let it percolate. We'll get back to it.
I'm going to come up with an answer for this
Yes.
before the end.
I
of
think
the
it's
day.
Larry the Cable Guy.
It might be like Lawrence Fishburne or somebody like that. You know, somebody who has gravitas.
Yeah.
Like Paul Newman in his you know.
It can't be Lawrence Fishburne. Paul Newman was white. You can't compare a white actor to a black
Okay,
actor.
we'll
That's
edit.
not allowed.
I'm going to edit all of that out. That's fine.
Lawrence Fishburne is the
People
modern
won't know
Mr.
that
T.
you're joking. People will be like, if anyone ever listens to this, people will be like,
Hey, I'm trying to bring in a new crew. You know, we got to get that alt-right.
we're gonna pivot to the alt.
That's right. We always talk
We're
about
only
it.
5 years late, so we're right on time for us. We were 5 years late to podcasting. We're 5 years late to QAnon. Why not?
I'm still thinking about the Paul Newman question. I'll
It's-
work on it.
keep
It's a
working on
fun
it.
thing to noodle around in my head. All right.
Matt Damon.
Nope.
Too much of a Goomba. Like
Too much of a
Goomba. Jack Nicholson.
So Data has won over the first officer, first officer prejudice.
How?
He just scienced him.
By being better at it than anybody else.
He was awesome data.
Exactly.
He
My
just
point.
Sheer awesome
Let
data-ness.
the robots take over.
And he also like earned his respect too along the way. It wasn't just It wasn't just
he
about
didn't just put him in his place.
right.
He changed a mind.
He changed a mind. A mind was changed. There's that dicky little kid that they've chosen to play the inheritor. I love that they ditch him. They're beating out, and they've left him behind.
Like, peace. We're
They've
bouncing.
realized they've lost.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're getting the fuck out of here.
Those spikes.
Oh, there they are.
Look at those.
Those got to be so inconvenient.
No, I bet they're great. I think on Klingon there are lots of like little things that like attack your feet. Right? So
You need spikes
need
on your
spikes
toes.
on your feet.
They're called children. That's how they weed them out.
They run at you going, honor.
Yeah.
So now the question becomes, what do we do? Though they've won the war, they've exposed the Romulan plot. Gowron has won the internal civil war and is going to be put in the High Council. And the question remains what to do. Oh, is the fish in there? I thought I saw him the other day.
I don't see
I
him
didn't see
there.
him. And so the question remains, what do we do with this kid, this alleged Duras heir? Oh, that's the other part of this, is that Data disobeyed Picard in order to solve the problem, which is how he won the other first officer's respect. He was like,
he did the thing.
And that's exactly what Jean-Luc is saying, is your decision was correct, even though he's like, you can't just follow orders blindly. You have to have your own judgment as well. So he's not going to punish Data. Everyone loves Data in this episode. And then I love this part. Look at his face. Nicely done, he says to him. So good. Oh, nicely done from Jean-Luc Picard is the equivalent of like a full body massage.
Yeah.
Like it's just like
It's all high fives
the
and
warmest
hugs.
of hugs and rainbows and unicorns.
He doesn't have a spine, but he just felt a tingle.
All he has
down
to
his
do
spine.
is say nicely done.
I would like a nicely done.
I would melt into a puddle.
I would
if
like-
Patrick Stewart ever looked at me and said nicely done.
I would like that to happen. He should.
If Patrick Stewart did cameos, can you?
Yeah, that would be worth it.
$500,000.
You'd have it forever.
Remember cameos? Those seem to have. Are those still a thing? I feel like they're not like we don't talk about them as much as we used to.
I don't think they're as popular as they were 3 or 4 years ago.
Well, probably not since the lockdown, right? That was the glory days of everyone videoing each other.
I think it might have been replaced by OnlyFans.
Yeah.
But OnlyFans is porn, right?
Yeah,
Not exclusively.
Not all, but yeah.
I was looking at
okay. I thought it was.
I think some sports stars and maybe other celebrities are on a different site. I can't recall what it is, but I saw Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is on it because I was reading. He was writing about Vin Scully and Bill Russell and all the other distinguished people who've passed away recently.
I would have
had a header that seemed like maybe you can engage him some way through some. I'll have to pull what it is, but it's probably a higher echelon.
We're not rich enough.
I don't think so. I mean, I'm guessing it's probably a hefty price tag, but
yeah. I mean, I don't need that much interaction with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He seems like a lovely man, but I don't know him.
Anyway, there's other avenues out there. That seem to.
Oh, so they're gonna let Worf kill the kid.
They've given Worf. Gowron has said it's your choice because you're the injured party here because it was his father that betrayed the Empire and that we covered up. So his life is in your hands, essentially. And of course, I mean, did anybody really think Worf was going to kill that kid?
You should have kicked him in the balls.
I mean, he should kick him in the balls and be like, don't ever come back here.
Yeah, with those
spiky boot kick.
Yeah.
No, not with the spiky boots.
You should have
no, there must be special ball kicking boots for Klingons.
Spiky boot to the balls would be rough.
Imagine the market for boots, things to kick boots. Like you've got a boot for ball kicking, you've got a boot for child spearing or whatever.
I love he says that because Kurt tells him that's the Klingon way, and he says, "Yeah, I know,
not my way.
It isn't my way."
Mm-hmm. He's his own person.
And Worf's like, "Nope, I am the older brother, and Kern will do exactly what I say."
Kern, K-U-R-N. I'm just realizing
it's kind of a sucky older brother move.
It's a Martian move for sure. I'm the pretty one, and you go stand over there.
Wasn't that a Olsen twin song? I'm the cute one. She's just my sister.
Oh my God! Really?
Why am I the only one who knows
They each accused themselves.
Come on, May. You know this song.
I did not. I missed the whole Olsen era. I was not part of the Olsen era. I was there, but I was not part of it.
I was there too.
Well, I used to have drinks with them all the time. What are you talking about?
You were definitely there.
Well, the movies were playing. You were drinking.
How this ended.
What? No, I'm sorry. I can't think about anything other than that song right now.
Now we have to pull it up.
Okay, maybe we'll do that during the break.
I'm the cute one. She's just my sister. A big thumb point.
Right, but they're each doing it to the other one, right? The big joke is that they're identical, but they each think they're the cute one. I understand.
It's hilarious.
Wait, so what happened? Is he going back to Starfleet?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Gowron successfully took over. Worf spared the kid's life. Which, does that ever come back? I don't think it does. The Duras sisters do, but I don't think that plot line about the kid ever comes back again. We will see Lursa and B'Etor again.
Yes. We will see Sela again.
And we will see Sela again.
And their low-cut cleavage.
Mm-hmm. Here's my feeling about Sela. It's a great idea that they ultimately ended up not doing very much with, because she's not in very many episodes. So it felt like they had this idea that she might come back and be like a recurring baddie that they repeatedly encounter. But I don't think they see her more than once more, do they? Once or twice? The episodes with Spock?
I think there's 2.
Well, yeah.
It's the 2-parter with Spock, right? And then I don't think you ever see her again.
Is that it?
Which is weird because they went, it felt like they were setting something
Which those episodes are in like 3 or 4
they're in
episodes
this season.
from now.
They're coming
far.
up.
I mean, they're coming up. They're in the first half of season 5.
So anyway, it just kind of felt like an idea that they didn't really use as much as they maybe could have. But they won. They won the war. Worf rejoined Starfleet.
And everything's back to normal.
Kern is in charge of the Klingon army, and Sela got away, but she will return.
Geordi still single.
Geordi's still status quo amongst the rest of the cast, who we barely saw this week.
Commander Riker still banging them out left and right.
Next week's pretty short on ensemble work.
Well,
too.
it's pretty much all Jean-Luc.
Although Deanna and Data have some good scenes in the next one.
Ooh.
Because I like Deanna Data plots because those two don't get they're not part of each other's stories very often. So except when he's talking about like humanity or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's nice that they get they get a little problem to solve, and it's not about like Data's, usual stuff. We have a little mystery we have to figure out together. It's fun, right?
And
Sean?
it's Darmok.
It's called Darmok. Anybody listening to this already knew that.
That's next?
Yep.
Oh, yes. That's my favorite.
Arguably the best episode of this show there ever was.
Might be the best
Arguably.
episode of any Star Trek.
I don't think it's my favorite. I don't think I would put it at number 1, but it would be in my top 5 for
It is
sure.
such a good episode.
And a lot of people would say it's right at
best,
the top.
yeah.
So that's not building anything up too much,
not
does
at
it?
all.
I have so much stuff. I have correction corners and whole thing, but
Let's do it.
Let's
next
ruin
week.
Darmok.
We'll
do it next week when we don't have anything to talk
ruin
about.
Darmok
with our content.
Let's wait for an episode where we have nothing to say about it. How about Darmok? What could anyone have to say about that one? Thank you very much for listening to Warped. Please go to iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts to rate, review, and subscribe. You can email us at warpedthepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at warpedtrek.
We're on Truth Social now, right?
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I forgot. We're appealing to the new crowd. Yes, we're on Truth Social at Go Fuck Yourselves, all Republicans. I'm on Twitter at Host Warped. Min has information about our Dungeons and Dragons and Call of Cthulhu live plays and podcasts at Wet Maynard. Speaking of which, by the way, just real quick, I've been re-listening to the first chapter of the Call of Cthulhu podcast, which is called Off the Wagon. It is so good.
It's really funny.
It's really good. And if we have a listener who sends us new intros for us to use in our
We love
podcast.
you, Kenyon.
If you were missing us during the months we were away, maybe listen to Off the Wagon. Sean's on it, I'm on it, Min's on it. If you haven't already, it's so funny. And Min, it sounds beautiful. Min put so much work into it. There's music, there's effects, there's ambiance. It's the exact opposite of this podcast.
It's really well
We
produced.
have raw energy though. That's
Instagram at Warped the Podcast and at lunar_flare for our merchandise. I think that's all of them. Join us next week for Darmok.
Yeah,
and
you got
Aaron, would you like to take us out?
Good night, everybody. I'm Aaron.
I'm Sean.
I'm Matt.
And Jake.
Philippe.
Amen.
Thank you for listening and goodbye. I was going to say goodnight, but then I was also going to say goodbye, and it was one of those moments where your mouth tries to make two words at the same time, and nothing comes out at all.
I pictured like an animal crawling, like seeing something and going back into its hole. Like, not what I expected to see.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.